Usually when we look up at the night sky, there's this built-in expectation of emptiness.
Right. It's just a given for us.
Yeah, it's totally binary. You have the tiny scattered pinpricks of light, the stars and the
The
planets.
galaxies, sure.
Exactly. And then there is the dark, just, well, the void.
The vacuum of space. I mean, the ultimate nothingness, really.
And it's terrifying, honestly. Like, if you sit out on your back porch and just think about it for too long, it kind of messes with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's deeply unsettling.
Because we've all internalized this very modern scientific map of the universe. We think we are just this isolated little rock floating in a freezing, meaningless ocean of dead space.
Which is a very, very modern kind of isolation.
Right. It makes you feel so incredibly small and not in a good way. It creates this profound sense of cosmic loneliness.
Well, yeah, because for most of human history, people didn't look up and see a void.
They didn't.
No, not at all. They looked up and they saw a populated, structured, living cosmos. But we've absorbed this materialistic worldview.
Right. The idea that it's all just random.
Exactly. The idea that the universe is essentially a massive, empty warehouse, mostly devoid of life or purpose, and governed only by blind chance and cold physics.
But what if that whole map is wrong?
That is the big question.
Right. What if we stepped into the world of C.S. Lewis's 1938 science fiction masterpiece, Out of the Silent Planet, and suddenly that map was turned completely inside out?
It's quite a trip.
It really is. What if the vast, dark emptiness of outer space isn't actually empty or dark at all? What if it is an ocean of blinding light, teeming with spiritual life, and, our planet is the only one sitting in a dark, silent quarantine?
It is the absolute definition of a paradigm shift. I mean, Lewis takes the universe as we think we know it, and he completely re-enchants it.
Re-enchants it. I love that phrasing.
And that is really the mission for this deep dive today. We're looking at the first book of C.S. Lewis's space trilogy, along with some really rich theological and literary analysis of the text that we've pulled together.
Right. Our sources cover both the novel itself and some deep critiques of it.
Yeah. But this isn't just a sci-fi book review. The goal here is to unpack how Lewis uses an alien world to completely revolutionize our understanding of our own Christian faith.
Which is so needed right now.
It is. We want to explore how this story helps us read the Bible more profoundly, love Christ more deeply, and actually live for him more faithfully in the mundane reality of our daily lives, without getting bogged down in crazy technical jargon.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because this massive cosmic journey starts in the most unremarkable, uncosmic way possible.
It really does.
It doesn't begin with a high-tech rocket launch. There's no countdown clock, no team of brilliant astronauts in shiny suits.
No NASA control room.
Right. It starts with a dusty, tired, rather shabby man walking down a very mundane English country road.
Yeah, his name is Dr. Elwyn Ransom. He's a philologist.
A philologist, so like a scholar of languages.
Exactly. He studies languages, and he's a fellow at a Cambridge college. And Lewis goes out of his way to make Ransom seem utterly ordinary.
Just a totally average guy.
Right. Lewis specifically notes that Ransom is dressed with that particular kind of shabbiness, which marks a member of the intelligentsia on a holiday.
That is such a great description.
Isn't it? He's just walking around with a backpack. He's a bachelor. He has no immediate family to speak of, just a married sister out in India, I think.
So he's completely unattached.
Totally. He's a nobody, essentially, at least in the eyes of the world.
Entirely unimportant. And he's just on a walking tour looking for a place to sleep, right?
Yeah, he gets turned away from a local inn and has to just keep walking in the dark. He's annoyed, he's tired, his feet hurt.
It's such a grounded, earthly beginning for a space epic.
Very intentional on Lewis's part. So eventually he comes across a distressed older woman standing outside a small, ugly cottage.
Oh, right. She's terrified because her boy, Harry...
Yeah, for a simple-minded boy, Harry. He hasn't come home from his job at a nearby estate called the Rise.
So Ransom, being a general decent guy, agrees to go over to the Rise to find the boy and send him home. And this is where the ordinary English countryside suddenly turns, well, sinister.
Very quickly.
Because when he gets onto the property, he hears a scuffle. He walks around back and finds 3 men physically fighting.
2 of them are holding down the boy, Harry.
Yeah. So Ransom steps in to intervene, and he realizes he actually knows one of the men. It's an old schoolmate named Richard Devine.
And we get this immediate sense of distaste from Ransom. He remembers really disliking Divine back in school.
Like a visceral reaction.
Exactly. Divine has grown up to be this flashy, wealthy guy who is driven entirely by greed and self-interest.
And Divine's companion is even worse. He's this massive, intimidating physicist named Dr. Weston.
Weston is a fascinating character
He really is.
because he is the total embodiment of what Lewis would later call scientism.
Okay, let's define that for everyone listening because it's a crucial concept for this whole deep dive.
It is. So scientism isn't just the practice of science. Science is good.
Right, we like science.
Yes. Scientism is the philosophical belief that amoral scientific progress and the expansion of the human race justify absolutely any action, no matter how cruel.
The end justifies the means on a cosmic scale.
Exactly. Weston believes that because he is a great scientist working for the future of humanity, he is basically above traditional morality.
He doesn't care about the individual.
Not at all. He doesn't care about ransom. He doesn't care about the boy, Harry, or anything else that gets in the way of his research.
So under the guise of hospitality, Divine and Weston invite Ransom inside to, calm things down.
Right. They pretend to be reasonable.
They offer him a drink, but they spike his whiskey.
A classic villain move.
Yeah. Ransom is sitting there, and suddenly his body starts going numb. He realizes he's been drugged, but before he completely passes out, he overhears them talking.
Yeah, and the conversation is terrifying.
Because they had originally planned to take the boy, Harry, on some sort of mysterious journey as a specimen, right? Or perhaps even a sacrifice.
Right, but Divine points out that Ransom is actually the much better victim.
Why is that?
Well, Divine says something incredibly chilling. He calls Ransom a busybody and says he, quote, will not be missed for months, and even then no one will know where he was when he disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah. Ransom is invisible to society. He has no wife to call the police, no children wondering where he is.
No influential friends to sound the alarm.
Exactly. He's a ghost in the machine of society. So they decide to kidnap Ransom instead. They load his unconscious body onto their ship, which is this giant spherical spacecraft, and they just blast off.
And when Ransom finally wakes up, he is in a dark, incredibly hot room. He realizes he's on a spaceship.
Well, terror immediately sets in.
Oh, of course. He has this nightmare vision in his head of what they are traveling through. He's picturing the dark, the cold vacuity, the utter deadness of space.
All those terrifying things we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Right. But then he manages to look out the skylight.
And what he sees fundamentally shatters his entire worldview.
I love this scene.
It's beautiful. He expects a black, empty void. Instead, he sees a moon. But it's not the moon we know from Earth.
It's totally different.
Right, it's a megalomaniac disk, just blindingly white, filling half the sky. But it's not just the celestial bodies that shock him. It's the environment itself.
The space outside the ship isn't a dead vacuum.
No, it is blazing with light, even in perfect blackness.
The physical description Lewis gives here is just staggering. Ransom feels life pouring into him from the outside.
Yeah, the sunlight in space isn't just bright, it's heavy, it's vibrant.
He realizes that this ocean of radiance is actually the womb of worlds. He drops the word space completely.
That's a huge turning point.
It really is. He realizes the older, ancient thinkers were right all along. It is the heavens.
And this is a brilliant theological subversion of the modern secular myth of space.
Or unpack that a bit.
Well, materialism teaches us that the universe is a meaningless void of dead matter ruled by chance. But Lewis draws on biblical truth to re-enchant the cosmos. He takes us straight to Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God.
Amen.
In the theology of the novel, the heavens are filled with spiritual beings called Eldila, which are essentially angels. The universe isn't a graveyard. It's teeming with life and movement and purpose.
I want to make sure we really grasp the magnitude of this shift. Because Ransom used to think of planets as these warm, safe islands of life floating in a terrifying sea of death.
Like life rafts.
Right. But looking out from the ship, bathed in this eternal, unfiltered light, he flips it. He realizes the planets are actually the holes or gaps in the living heaven.
Yes. The planets are the heavy, dark wastes.
That is so counterintuitive.
It is. They are the excluded, rejected areas of murky air and dense matter. They're literally subtractions from the surrounding brightness of the heavens.
But wait, I'm trying to picture this mathematically or, physically. How can empty space be the fullness and the solid planets be the gaps?
Think about it through the lens of Colossians 1:17.
Okay, Paul's letter.
Right. The Apostle Paul writes that all things were created by Christ, and in him all things hold together. When you dig into the original Greek of that passage, The verb for hold together is sunastaken, and it's in the perfect tense.
Meaning what, practically?
Meaning this isn't just a past event. It's not like God wound up the clock of the universe and just walked away to let it tick down.
Like the deist view.
Exactly. The perfect tense means Christ is actively, continuously bringing stability and coherence to the entire cosmos right now, every millisecond.
Wow.
So space isn't a vacuum where God is absent. It is the pleroma, the fullness of God's sustaining presence.
It completely changes how you look at the sky.
It does. The planets with their gravity and atmosphere, they just filter out that raw, blinding spiritual reality so that physical, earthly creatures can actually survive.
So it's like the difference between walking into an abandoned, dark, freezing warehouse versus walking into a breathtaking, brilliantly lit cathedral.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right, because one makes you feel isolated, accidental, and completely meaningless. The other makes you feel small, yes, but infinitely valued and part of a grand, purposeful design.
And that is the exact shift Lewis is trying to produce in the reader. Our language deeply shapes our perception of reality.
For sure.
If we accept the myth of a materialistic, purposeless universe, we live out of that fear and isolation. We view ourselves as just biological accidents.
Which leads to so much despair today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if we see the cosmos as a cathedral, a theater of divine majesty sustained moment by the word of Christ, well, it changes everything about how we interact with the world.
And bringing this back to Ransom being kidnapped, there's a really profound devotional application here regarding his obscurity.
Yes, this is so good.
Because Divine thought Ransom was the perfect victim because he was a nobody. To the world, he was invisible. But in the grand scheme of this cosmic cathedral, he was chosen.
He was handpicked by God.
Exactly. If you are listening to this right now and you feel like a cog in the machine, like your life wouldn't cause a ripple if you disappeared, it's vital to remember that the world's systems of fame and importance mean absolutely nothing in God's kingdom.
Nothing at all.
1 Corinthians tells us that God chooses the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He uses the humble, the hidden, and the overlooked to accomplish his greatest cosmic purposes.
Ransom thinks he's a victim of a random, senseless crime. He thinks he's just bad luck roadkill for Weston scientific ambitions.
Right, just wrong place, wrong time.
But he is actually being woven into a divine mission. God is using his exact obscurity to position him exactly where he needs to be.
So after surviving this mind-altering journey through the heavens, they finally land on the planet Malacandra, which is Mars.
Right.
But once Ransom gets out of the ship, the real shock isn't the landscape. It's who he meets.
Yeah, the inhabitants.
And how these alien creatures end up exposing the deep flaws in our own human nature.
To set the scene, as soon as they land, Weston and Divine try to hand Ransom over to these tall, ghostly white creatures called Soroni, or Sorns.
Why do they do that?
Well, Weston and Divine assume, based on their dark, fallen human perspective, that these aliens want a human sacrifice.
Of course, they assume the worst.
Right. But suddenly, a massive water monster attacks from a nearby lake. And in the confusion, Ransom runs for his life. He escapes into this utterly alien landscape.
And the geography of Malacandra is so fascinating here.
It really is.
Because it has lighter gravity than Earth and has this perpendicular physics, everything grows incredibly tall and thin.
The mountains, the plants.
Even the waves on the water are elongated. And the planet is divided into two main topographical areas. There's the Harandra, which are these cold, barren, high tablelands where the air is incredibly thin.
Almost unbreathable for humans.
Right. And then there's the Handramit, which are these warm, deep canyons filled with purple forests and blue rivers.
And it's down in the Handramit that Ransom makes his first real contact with local inhabitant. He meets a creature named Hayoi.
Hayoi.
Yeah, Hayoi is a fros. Plural is frosa. They are described as very tall, furry, seal-like creatures.
Seal-like, okay.
Yeah. And they are the poets, the singers, and the fishers of Malacandra. Now remember, Ransom's a philologist. He studies languages. So when he hears Hayoi speak, he is absolutely ecstatic to discover that this creature has an articulate, structured language.
Because Ransom was fully expecting grotesque, hostile movie monsters, right?
Exactly, the classic bug-eyed monsters.
He was expecting the classic sci-fi trope of alien bugs trying to eat him. Instead, he finds warmth, reason, and poetry. He learns that there are 3 distinct intelligent species on Malacandra.
Yes, the Yao.
Right. They're called Hanao, which essentially means rational, soul-bearing beings. You have the Hrasa, who are the poets and live in the valleys. You have the Saroni, or Sorns, who are the tall, white intellectuals and astronomers living up on the high Harandra.
And then there's the third group.
The fifth Triggy, who
Yeah.
are frog-like artisans, miners, and builders.
And here is the theological shocker that completely anchors the book and really our whole discussion today.
Okay.
These creatures are unfallen.
Wow.
They do not have original sin.
I want to sit with that for a second because it's honestly hard to wrap our human minds around.
It really is.
You have three totally different intelligent species with wildly different physical abilities and living environments sharing one planet, and there is zero interspecies warfare.
None. No racism.
No exploitation, no one trying to conquer anyone else. It's almost unimaginable.
They live in absolute harmony because their natures haven't been corrupted by pride or selfishness. The Filtrigi love digging for gold, for instance.
Right. They call it sun's blood, don't they?
Yes. But they don't hoard it to create a ruling class or an economy based on scarcity. They dig it just to make beautiful things for everyone to enjoy.
That's beautiful.
And the Sorns have massive intellects. They understand physics and astronomy on a level far beyond the others.
Yeah.
But they don't use that intellect to dominate or enslave the Rosa.
Like Weston wants to.
Exactly. They use it to understand the universe and share that knowledge. They all naturally know and worship the Creator, whom they call Me'eldil the Young, who lives with the Old One.
Which is a clear reflection of Christ and the Father.
Very clear.
But how does that work theologically? Because, I mean, they don't have a Bible, they don't have a church history or a localized incarnation like we do. How do they just know about God?
So Justin Martyr, one of the early church fathers from the 2nd century, wrote about a concept called the logos spermaticos.
The seeds of the Word.
Precisely. He argued that every rational mind, by virtue of being rational, participates to some degree in the divine word, which is Christ.
Okay.
Lewis takes that theological idea and applies it to these aliens. Because they are rational souls now created by God, and crucially, because they never rebelled against him, they naturally possess moral law, virtue, and a pure desire to worship.
So they don't need a Bible.
They don't need a redemptive text like the Bible because they never fell away from the truth. They aren't broken, so they don't need fixing.
It perfectly illustrates what Paul talks about in Romans 8. Paul says that our earthly creation is groaning under the weight of sin, in bondage to decay, waiting for redemption.
Yes, the groaning of creation.
Malacandra is a glimpse of what creation looks like when it perfectly obeys God. It's what a world looks like when it isn't subjected to the vanity and destruction of human rebellion.
It's a beautifully ordered society. But what's truly mind-bending is how their lack of sin changes their internal psychology.
This is where it gets incredibly convicting for me.
I like to.
Because Ransom is talking to Hioi, the Frost, and Ransom tries to explain human lust and greed, and Hioi just fundamentally cannot compute what Ransom is saying.
It's like trying to explain color to someone born blind, but in reverse.
Right. Ransom asks if making love and having children is a pleasure for the Rasa. Hioi says yes, it is a very great pleasure. So Ransom, thinking exactly like a fallen human, says, well, if it's a pleasure, a man wants it again. He might want the pleasure more often than the number of young that could be fed.
And Hioi is genuinely baffled by this logic. He says, but why? Would he want his dinner all day or want to sleep after he had slept?
Which is such a logical answer.
It is. Ransom tries to explain that humans spend their whole lives frantically chasing these repeated pleasures. And Hioi delivers this incredibly profound thought.
I highlighted this in my notes.
He says, a pleasure is full-grown only when it is remembered. What you call remembering is the last part of the pleasure, as the kra is the last part of a poem.
A pleasure is full-grown only when it is remembered. That completely wrecks the modern human operating system, honestly.
It does.
Think about our consumerist culture right now. Think about the way we interact with technology, with food, with relationships. We are on this exhausting hedonic treadmill.
Always chasing the next high.
Exactly. We frantically chase fleeting experiences, gluttony, lust, the next Amazon purchase, the next vacation, the next dopamine hit on our phones. We are always trying to repeat the initial sensation because the moment it's over, we feel empty again.
Fallen humans demand that the sensation be endless. We want to extract every ounce of feeling out of a thing, and in doing so, we actually kill the joy of it.
We ruin the gift.
We do. The unfallen Frosa, on the other hand, operate differently. When they receive a gift from God, like falling in love or experiencing a beautiful day or eating a great meal, they enjoy it fully in the moment and then they let it pass.
And let it go.
They let it grow into a holy memory and into wisdom. Hayoya is saying that remembering isn't a pale, sad imitation of the pleasure, it is the culmination of it. It's the final chord of the song.
There is such a deep application here for how we live our daily walk as Christians. We really need to practice the sacramental way of living.
Absolutely.
When you, the listener, experience something beautiful today, maybe it's a great cup of coffee or a really good conversation with a friend or a beautiful sunset, don't immediately try to figure out how to buy it again or force it to happen again tomorrow or take 100 pictures of it so you can own it.
Just be present.
Right. Receive God's daily gifts with profound gratitude. Let the memory of it steep in your soul and produce contentment.
That is the exact antidote to the fall. The fallen human heart wants to consume, control, and hoard. The redeemed heart, learning from the wisdom of unfallen creation, receives, gives thanks, and remembers.
But this beautiful, peaceful harmony on Malacandra is violently interrupted because Ransom isn't the only human walking around.
Unfortunately not.
The arrival of the bent humans, Weston and Divine, brings us face to face with the ugly reality of our own fallen nature.
Lewis sets up a stark, almost painful contrast between the Malacandrians and the humans. Divine is probably the simplest to understand.
Yeah, he's pretty one-dimensional in his evil.
He represents pure, unadulterated imperial greed. He finds out that the fifth will Triggy mine gold on Malacandra, and his only goal is to exploit the planet, load his ship with gold, bring it back to Earth, and live in unimaginable luxury.
He views this ancient, beautiful alien landscape merely as raw material to be plundered.
He's the ultimate colonialist. He sees value only in what can be monetized.
But Weston is much more complicated and honestly much more dangerous.
Yes, Weston is the true ideologue. As we mentioned earlier, he represents scientism and utilitarianism. He is entirely devoted to the survival and advancement of the human species.
And he believes that the evolutionary march of humanity justifies any moral atrocity.
Kidnapping Ransom.
Yeah.
Justified for the mission.
Murdering the Malacandrians.
Justified to clear the land. Stealing another world so humanity can spread out and outlive the eventual death of Earth. Completely justified in his mind.
Reading the theological critiques on this, it connects perfectly to St. Augustine's concept of the two cities.
Oh, that's a brilliant connection.
Augustine argued that all of humanity is divided into two allegiances. You have the city of God, which is characterized by the love of God to the point of contempt for self.
That's represented by the humble, serving Malacandrians.
Right. And then you have the city of man, or the city of earth, which is characterized by the love of self to the point of contempt for God. Augustine called this the libido dominandi, the lust for domination.
The lust for power.
Weston is completely consumed by the libido dominandi.
This all comes to a head in what is arguably the most brilliant scene in the book, the climactic trial.
It's so good.
Ransom, Weston, and Divine are finally brought before Oyarsa.
Now remind us who Oyarsa is.
Right, so Oyarsa is an Eldil, an angelic being of pure light who rules the planet of Malacandra on behalf of Maldil. Oyarsa is essentially the tutelary archangel of Mars, and he has existed for millions of years.
And Weston steps up to this ancient, radiant angel, completely arrogant, thinking he is the absolute pinnacle of biological evolution.
It's almost comical how arrogant he is.
It is. He tries to defend his philosophy. He argues for life with a capital L. He says she, meaning life, has ruthlessly broken down all obstacles on Earth, and that he is pressing forward to the interplanetary leap to place humanity beyond the reach of death.
He even looks Oyarsa in the face and tells him that if he could, he would wipe out all the Malacandrians to make room for human expansion.
And Oyarsa just effortlessly dismantles this entire worldview.
It's a verbal takedown.
He points out a glaring logical flaw in Weston's worship of life and humanity. Oyarsa says that Weston doesn't actually love the specific minds or bodies of humans currently living because Weston fully admits that humans will evolve into something unrecognizable in the future anyway.
Right, he doesn't love people.
Exactly. What Weston loves is just the abstract seed of humanity, the mere biological continuation of the species. Oyarsa says, there are laws that all now know of pity and straight dealing and shame, and one of these is the love of kindred.
He tells Weston that the evil ruler of Earth has taught him to break all the great moral laws just to blindly follow one bent instinct.
But hold on, let's really think about this for a second, because someone listening might say, if we don't try to survive, we just die outright.
Sure.
Isn't human survival a good thing? We want to cure diseases, explore space, preserve humanity for future generations. Why is Weston so fundamentally wrong for wanting humanity to live on?
Well, survival is a good thing. God created us with the instinct to live and thrive. But survival is not the ultimate thing.
Okay, that's the distinction.
The problem occurs when a good thing is elevated to the position of an ultimate thing. When survival, or scientific progress, or national security becomes an absolute idol, it becomes demonic.
Because it demands sacrifice.
Exactly. Because if the idol demands it, you will sacrifice anything, including morality, compassion, and basic human dignity, just to serve it.
It's like a doctor who is so obsessed with his research to cure a specific disease that he starts running unethical, torturous experiments on healthy people to harvest their organs.
Yes.
His end goal is technically saving lives, but his methods break the fundamental moral law of God against murder. The goal of progress does not justify committing atrocities, and Weston is literally willing to commit planetary genocide for the sake of progress.
Exactly. And this is a massive, flashing warning light for us today regarding the modern idols of amoral progress.
Where do you see this happening today?
Well, think about movements like transhumanism, where the goal is to transcend human limitations through technology, often ignoring the ethical implications of what it actually means to be human.
Playing God, essentially.
Right. Or think about the blind race toward artificial intelligence without moral boundaries, driven just by the desire to see if we can do it, without asking if we should.
Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Precisely. The deep lesson for the Christian here is that human nature, in its fallen state, cannot be saved by technological expansion. If we spread across the galaxy without the regenerating power of the gospel, we don't spread utopia, we just spread our sin.
We just export our corruption to new worlds.
Yes. We must submit our ambitions, our careers, and our scientific progress to the lordship of Jesus Christ. Otherwise, it becomes an idol.
Which brings up the biggest question of the whole book. We've seen this beautiful, harmonious, great dance of creation on Malacandra. We've heard about the surrounding heavens pulsing with light and angels.
It's all so glorious.
So what on earth happened to us? Why are Weston and Divine so profoundly broken? And why did Oyarsa mention earlier that we are ruled by an evil lord? This leads directly into the tragic history of our own planet.
During his time speaking with Oyarsa, Ransom finally discovers what the Malacandrians call Earth. They don't call it Earth.
What do they call it?
They call it Volcandra, which translates to the silent planet.
The silent planet. Just the name itself is so haunting.
It is deeply haunting. Oyarsa explains that the rest of the solar system is in constant communication. The angelic Oyarses of the different planets speak to each other.
So there's this interplanetary dialogue happening.
Right. There is this beautiful cosmic symphony of fellowship. But Earth is completely cut off from the cosmic community. We are deaf and dumb to the rest of the universe.
Why?
Because long before human history, the Oyarsa of Earth, the great angelic ruler assigned to our planet, rebelled against Meldil. He became bent.
And this rebellion wasn't just a quiet disagreement. This bent one caused primeval destruction.
Real damage.
Oyarsa tells Ransom that the bent one smote the moon and brought cold death to parts of Malacandra. He was trying to expand his corrupt empire. So there was a great war in heaven.
The bent one was driven back by the loyal angels and is now bound to the air of his own world.
Earth is essentially under a cosmic quarantine so that his evil cannot spread to the rest of the unfallen universe.
And this is where Lewis takes biblical demonology and dramatizes it brilliantly. In Ephesians 2:2, the Apostle Paul refers to Satan as the ruler of the authority of the air.
The air.
Lewis takes that spatial designation, the air, and makes it a literal physical boundary. Satan is bound to the terrestrial atmosphere of Earth. He is a contained threat.
And it completely changes how you read Ephesians 6:1, too. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms.
Right.
When you read the commentaries on this, the Greek verbs Paul uses indicate an ongoing, immediate wrestling match. It's hand-to-hand combat with these dark forces.
Irenaeus, another critical thinker in the early church, developed a theology that we now call Christus Victor, Christ the Victor.
Okay, unpack that.
He emphasized that Satan's dominion over Earth is an illegitimate usurpation. Satan isn't a co-equal with God. He is a rebel warlord holding a hostage territory.
He's an occupier.
Exactly. He has hijacked humanity and isolated us from the cosmic symphony of praise.
So, if we take this theology seriously, how does it change our daily walk? It means we have to completely reframe how we see the world. Our planet is a war zone. We are spiritually besieged.
We are behind enemy lines.
The evil we see in the world every day, the corporate greed that divine represents, the ruthless pride of Weston, the systemic injustices in our cities, the deep personal temptations we fight in our own minds. It isn't just bad luck.
No, it's not.
It isn't just a glitch in human psychology or an error in political policy. It is the direct result of living in a hostile, occupied territory governed by a bent ruler who genuinely hates us.
It means we have to take spiritual warfare seriously. We cannot afford to live as oblivious, comfortable civilians in a war zone. We have an active enemy.
But I was reading some commentary on this, and there's a vital balance we have to strike, right? There is a great moment in the book that touches on this perfectly. Before Ransom meets Oyarsa, he is talking to a Sorn named Augre. Augre mentions that the Hrosa, the poets in the valleys, have this beautiful, noble acceptance of death.
Right, they aren't afraid to die.
If a predator comes or if danger arises, they just accept it as going to Malaldil. But Augre, the intellectual Sorn, gently rebukes this fatalism. He says they don't look at danger reasonably to avoid it when they can.
It's a crucial point of balance for the Christian. We shouldn't be completely paralyzed by fear of the enemy, seeing a demon behind every bush and refusing to engage with the world.
Right, that's one extreme.
But nor should we be presumptuous and fatalistic, refusing to use the gifts God gave us. We trust God's sovereignty completely over the war, but we use the reason, the prudence, and the practical means he provides to fight the battles.
There's an old saying for that, isn't there?
Yeah. Pray as if everything depended on God. Work as if everything depended on you.
I love that. We need the brave surrender of the Hrosa, but the sharp wisdom of the Sorns. Now, if Earth is quarantined, if it's the silent planet ruled by a dark, bent warlord, is there any hope? I mean, we are locked in.
It sounds bleak.
This brings us to the most stunning, emotionally resonant revelation in the entire book. The universe knows that Earth is quarantined, but they also know the quarantine was breached.
And this is where the gospel comes crashing into the story. The quarantine wasn't breached by a human spaceship going out.
It was breached by the Creator himself coming in.
Yes. When Ransom speaks with the Oyarsa and the Malacandrians, he finds out that they don't look at Earth with hatred or disgust, even though we are fallen and bent.
Which you might expect them to do.
Right, but they don't. They look at Malacandra with profound, holy awe.
Because rumors have reached them.
Rumors.
Through the angelic network, the Aldila who travel between the spheres, they have heard whispers of what happened on the silent planet. They know that Malabil the Young, the creator and sustainer of the entire universe, did not abandon us to the Bent One.
He didn't just leave us to die.
In the fullness of time, he went down into the dark quarantine, he crossed enemy lines, he took on the heavy, dark flesh of our corrupted world, and he became a man to wrestle the Bent One face to face on his own turf.
It is the absolute scandal of the gospel, seen from an alien perspective.
I was looking at the theological analysis of this, and they point straight to Athanasius, another church father, who wrote a famous book called On the Incarnation.
A classic.
Athanasius argued deeply about why Jesus had to come. He said that only the creator of the world is capable of recreating it.
Right, you can't just send a substitute.
A created being, like an angel or a very good human, cannot recreate a corrupted nature. Only the one who spoke the word to create humanity could speak the word to redeem it.
To the unfallen beings of the universe, the idea of the infinite radiant God taking on the fragile, dying flesh of a human is breathtaking.
It's incomprehensible to them.
They don't fully understand it. Oyarsa admits it's a profound mystery they desire to look into. But they know that the most miraculous, earth-shattering act in all of cosmic history didn't happen in the radiant heights of heaven or on a perfect, unfallen world.
It happened in the mud and blood of the silent planet.
It's so easy for us, especially those of us who grew up in the church, to lose the wonder of this.
It really is.
It's like living right next to the Grand Canyon. You see it every day on your way to work, and eventually you stop noticing how massive it is.
The story of Christmas and Easter becomes just another Sunday school lesson, just another holiday on the calendar.
Right. But Lewis forces us to step outside ourselves. He forces us to look at the cross through the eyes of an alien who has never experienced sin, who only knows the pure glory of Malaldil.
And suddenly, the sheer, staggering love of Jesus Christ dropping into our muddy, bloody trenches to save us hits us all over again.
It completely re-enchants our love for Christ. The incarnation wasn't just a cold theological transaction to balance a cosmic ledger of justice.
It was a rescue mission.
It was a daring, costly, cosmic rescue mission behind enemy lines. The king infiltrated the occupied territory to save his hostages.
Colossians 2.15 says that Christ disarmed the powers and authorities. He made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. The bent ruler has been defeated.
The usurper's power is broken.
And because of that, we have a very specific job as believers. We are called to be unsilenced witnesses on the silent planet.
Unsilenced witnesses, I like that.
We're the ones who get to break the silence. We get to sing the song of Malacandra here on Earth, declaring that the true king has landed.
That leads perfectly into the conclusion of Ransom's journey. After the trial, Oyarsa commands Weston and Divine to leave the planet.
And he gives Ransom a choice.
Ransom can stay in the unfallen safety and beauty of Malacandra, living out his days in peace, or he can get back on the ship and return to the dangerous, silent Earth with Weston and Divine.
And Ransom chooses to return. He goes back to the war zone, but he goes back completely transformed. He is no longer the isolated, fearful man who is kidnapped from that country road.
If we look back at the ground we've covered today, it's an incredible journey.
It really is.
We started by stripping away the false, modern myth of dead space and replacing it with the glorious reality of the heavens, sustained moment by Christ.
We learned the deep secret of true contentment from the unfallen Hrassa.
Receiving God's gifts and letting them grow into memory, rather than demanding endless pleasure from a consumerist world.
We saw the absolute bankruptcy of human hubris through Weston and Divine, realizing that technological progress without moral obedience is just sophisticated rebellion.
And finally, we stood in awe with the angels at the staggering reality of Christ's rescue mission to our quarantined world.
The whole point of analyzing this book isn't to make you wish you lived on Mars.
No, not at all.
It is meant to change how you live here. Every ordinary moment, every mundane walk down a country road, every interaction at your job is part of a grand cosmic drama sustained by Maladel.
You are not an invisible cog in a meaningless machine. You are known, you are loved, and you have a critical role to play in occupied territory.
I want to leave you with one final stirring idea derived from the very end of the text. Before Ransom leaves, Oyarsa gives him a warning, but it's also a promise.
A very hopeful promise.
He hints to Ransom that the great year is turning. The long isolation of Theocentric is nearing its end. The cosmic quarantine is about to be lifted.
The siege is almost over. The silent planet is going to hear the voice of the king again.
So I want you to ponder this as you go about your week, as you drive to work, as you manage your household, as you face the deep darkness and anxieties of this world. If the siege is almost over, and the heavens are about to break their silence over our world in the final consummation?
How does that change things?
Exactly. How does that change the way you speak, love, and fight for the truth today? Remember, it's not an abandoned warehouse out there. It's a cathedral. And the doors are about to open.
Amen to that.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking up.